Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to round 5 of the Inside Line Racing League season, ILR1, here on the PS4. I'm Gentle Andy, and alongside me, as always, it's Ali Monda. And, well, Ali Monda, we've got a thrilling start to this World Championship, don't we? And I think we're going to have yet another one here at the Spanish Grand Prix. So close at the top of the championship, and you had the privilege of commentating on that race at Baku last week. What a race it was. It was thrilling from the start to the finish.
Yes, I've just about recovered from that one, Andy. I mean, right the way to the line on the main start finish straight, which always a possibility of that happening. But we're now here at a very different circuit here, Circuit Catalunya, a track I've personally watched a race at. Great place to see. Even if you're in the general admission area, it's highly recommended to go there. And now that I'm sort of advertising this track, getting down to business, this qualifying session, it's probably much more easier to set up at this track compared to Baku last week, because, you know, it's not so low downforce dependent in terms of the overtaking zones.
Yeah, there's a track that, well, it's got a bit of everything, isn't it? I mean, the cars, of course, well, obviously not so much in the game, but certainly in real life, the drivers are tuned into it because they do so much pre-season testing on this circuit. So much different, not different in the game, though we don't get as much as that. We don't really do much pre-season testing. We did do some at the start of the season. I think actually the PS4 guys did come to the Spanish racetrack to do a pre-season test, so they should be relatively tuned in and have a really reasonable idea of what kind of lap times they should be expecting. Obviously, in the run-up to the Grand Prix, they all do a fair bit of practicing as well. So yeah, I think they'll be well tuned in, and they'll have the car all set up, ready to go. But the tyres we have this weekend, we've got the super soft tyre, we've got the soft tyre, and we've got the medium compound tyre. Now, on the Xbox League on Friday night, the majority of the field chose to qualify on the soft compound tyre, but as I've seen with Inside Line Racing so far this season, the difference in strategy is quite significant on Xbox compared to PlayStation, and I think that's down to how long you can make the tyres last. And I think on PlayStation you can make them last longer, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone does choose to go for the super soft here, Alan.
Yes, I mean, already immediately, I think fairly representative times on the super softs for the top three. So it doesn't look like they're going too cautious here with this qualifying session. That could be an indication of what kind of weather we're getting for the race. You know, we're straight into the 16s with Novak and It's Me, so not really putting, although if we see them doing multiple runs at the fastest compound, then that would certainly be an indication of what weather we're going to get from the race.
Yeah, quite possibly, but again, I stress, I mean, I don't know, they might be able to make them work on the PlayStation, that's the thing. I mean, if they can make the super softs work on the PlayStation and they can't on the Xbox, that could be the case. I mean, back in Bahrain, the same thing happened. A lot of guys chose the super softs on PlayStation, whereas nobody chose them on Xbox. It's just an interesting situation we have on this game where there's a difference in the tyre compound. Possibly, if everyone chooses super softs, it will give us an indication for the weather, but we can't be conclusive on that simply because we don't know how the tyres are, and if you can use a super soft and do a one-stop race. Certainly the guys on Friday night went softs to medium, so we'll see if that is what the best thing to do is. But of course, as you say, we could always get some rain in Spain, and that would really spice up the action. I don't think we've had a wet race so far this season, and if we got that, it would really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. We haven't really had you know, a massive wet session in a race yet, so I think we're starting to get a good idea of what the pecking order is in terms of dry running. You know, the likes of Blizzard, KB Killer, Doom, and Lambo have really impressed in the first 4 races with their results, which is why, you know, they're in the top 4 of the championship with a significant gap to the rest. You know, there's certain drivers in this league who've really faltered so far this season. We haven't seen the best of them yet. None more so, I would say, than, you know, the reigning champion Lewis, who's, you know, he's had a difficult start to the campaign, a brake failure in Australia, and then last week he was on for such a good result, but then, you know, just making that slight lapse in concentration cost him, you know, what would have been a really great result. But, you know, he recovered well to get back into 5th, and this is a track he has gone well at in the past, so hopefully Lewis can finally, in some ways, get his season going.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We spoke about it off air, didn't we? Lewis trying to get his season going at long last, and the advantage he has is that nobody at the front has ran away with this championship. It's not as if someone's won the first 4 races, got 100 points on the board and disappeared off into the distance. I mean, Lewis only has 12 points to his name so far, and if he had to come charging back from someone on 100 points, it would be an extremely uphill challenge, but that isn't the case, and I think it's important that we're running through the championship after the 4 races. It is VSR Blizzard on top with 65 points. He's got a 5-point advantage over his teammate, KB Killer Zone. 1 point further behind that is Hume on 59, so 6 points covering the top three. Just shows you how tight it is. TTG Lambo, who is a bit of a surprise package, it has to be said, to be up as high as he is P4 with some really consistent performances, a second, a third, a fourth and an eighth. He's 16 points off the lead of the championship. Ash Best is 5th and he is on 49 points. He's on 37 points, 28 points off the championship lead. And I think we should talk about Ash Best briefly, but that just shows you how close it is between the top 5 drivers. And as I've mentioned, people like Lewis only got 12 points, and another man who hasn't done well at all is Blocks. We know how strong he can be, and he's not scored a single point yet. So it shows that those kind of drivers can do a lot better than what have done so far. Cliffy, another one who hasn't performed at his utmost best, although he got a good 3rd place last week. But let's talk briefly about Ash Best. Ali Monda won the opening round and then came 5th in Bahrain, but been totally off the boil since then. 2 10th places and dropping away from the lead of the championship, isn't he?
Yeah, we just saw Doom have a big off, hitting the wall just there. No, but Ash Best, great start to the season. It really looked like he was going to, stamp his mark, but it hasn't quite worked out for him that way. I think generally he's just not had the pace. I think it's just as simple as that, really. I don't think it's I've watched him in the 3 races since Australia. I don't think he's been particularly bad in terms of, staying out of contact or anything. I just think he just hasn't had the pace. The other drivers after Australia have really stepped it up. But you wouldn't underestimate Ash Best getting a great result here, because Ash Best, this is a track not just in ILR but in other leagues where he's been very strong at in the past. So maybe he'll get going. But we're still very early in the season, Andy. There's still plenty of points up for grabs, and it may not be until as far as like Britain or Germany, around 10 and 11, where we really see the leading pack at the top of the table running away from the rest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we said it in the first couple of rounds. We didn't feel we had a pecking order established yet of who was quick and who was slow. I mean, obviously over the last couple of rounds, McLaren have shown how strong they've come out the blocks. Hume has came out the blocks really quickly as well, but as you're rightly saying, it might not be till Germany or Britain before we see the likes of Lewis and Blocks and Cliffy really starting to get a grip of this championship and getting themselves back into it. And I totally believe that if those guys get a grip of things, get themselves into the battle, we could have several drivers fighting for this championship, couldn't we? As many as 5, 6, 7 guys all contesting for it. And I think this could really be one of the most exciting seasons, not only in ILR but across the board in league racing this year, that I will commentate on. And I think you would go along with that, wouldn't you?
Oh no, absolutely. I just want to mention one driver from Baku last week, Cliffy. I mean, he was the driver of the day for me last week. Back of the grid and fighting all the way back to the podium, and he nearly came very close. Another lap, I think he would have won that race, because the 2 cars ahead of him battled each other so hard they were, really badly damaged their cars. But Cliffy, when he starts outside of the top 10, it just transformed him somehow. He just gets into the groove strategy-wise, and he just seems to pass cars with ease. Yet when he's in the top 10, he's still quick, of course, but it just doesn't seem to work out for him. So it wouldn't surprise me if again he goes for the alternate strategy and he goes on the podium again. Yeah,
we'll see what Cliffy does. I mean, he always has been a fan of that alternate strategy. There's been no doubt about it, and we'll see how he decides to play it. But we've got around 7 minutes to go in the session. We're well into this session, and a 16.9 by Nowek is the best time we've seen so far on the super soft tyre. It's me second matches that on the super soft. Frisky CJ 17 flat and VSR Blizzard on a 17.1. And with 7 minutes to go in the session, it looks to me like we're going to start seeing drivers going out perhaps on the soft compound tyre and going on a run, because those times are not representative enough, I would have thought, to consider being a quick enough for pole. Are they? I wouldn't have thought so.
Well, I think those 16s from Novak and It's Me are borderline. I think Novak's has probably maybe left a few tenths in the tank, but he's going to still have to put a pretty good lap to beat that time. It would compromise his fact. I mean, he's clearly wanting to start on the softs, so we shall see shortly how quick these guys are on the softs. I think those in the 17s, I would say they're probably capable of going faster on the softs. But we've even got a couple of guys who are fitting the mediums. Blocks, Hamilton and Matt Tebos have fitted the medium compound in the pit lane, so they're going to be coming out shortly trying to get into the top 10 on the mediums, which would give them not a lot of pace to start with, but they would come back into it during the first stint.
Yeah, absolutely, they could do that. But I mean, the other thing is, if they qualify in the mediums, surely they'll not make it into the top 10 anyway. So, I mean, I'd be amazed if they qualify in the mediums and made it into the top 10. We know how tight this field is, and surely they would have to go onto a set of softs to get into the top 10, and then that would force them onto the soft tyres at least. So let's see what Lewis does. Lewis is out there on track at the moment, the world champion himself, coming round the final couple of corners, and he's coming into the pits on those super soft tyres. So he was going on a late run to warm himself up, and that looks to me like he's going to be fitting the soft compound tyres soon. I currently have the graphic up showing that what the cars have got fitted. I think that's more important than what the lap times they've done so far. I think with the remaining time that's left, I think we're going to see a real mixture. We have got a real mixture at the moment. I mean, on Xbox it was simply get the softs on at the end and go for it, but we've got softs, super softs, mediums. I've really got no idea what the majority of these guys are going to go for, but surely, Alimonda, if you're on the mediums, you're going to find yourself outside the top 10, and it almost seems a bit pointless to use them.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, tyre wear at this particular track isn't that severe, really, compared to some of the tracks we've been to this season. You know, China, Bahrain, you know, they were extremely harsh on the fastest compound, but here, I think there's more of a window between the compounds. So I think whatever compound you start on here, there's still plenty of flexibility to do the one stop, because the tyre wear just isn't as severe as the other two tracks I mentioned.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Ash Best is out there on the track. He's in mode 0, but it looks to me now that the majority of the cars in the pits have now fitted the softs. No one is on mediums now, so everyone that's in the pits, or pretty much everyone, is on a set of soft tyres. We've got It's Me, Frisky CJ, Blizzard, Francis, Costa, Ash Best and Clippy on super softs at the moment, with all in the pits except from Ash Best. Glenn out there on a set of soft compound tyres, but I think it is slowly moving towards the direction of everyone's going to go onto a set of soft compound tyres, which is what we suspected. We weren't certain of it, but it certainly seems that way. And Nowek now on that 1:16.9 is also on an outlap on the soft compound tyre, but he has left it quite marginal with that time he's done. It won't be easy, it won't be an absolute certainty that it'll beat his time on the softs, will it, Alimonda?
Yep, I think we are going to see, you know, the majority of the top 10 on the softs the way it's going.
Yeah, it will be, it looks like it. So Nowek climbing up through turn 9 and coming towards the end of that second sector and towards turn 10. So Nowek about to start a flying lap, and it's happened quite a lot this season where we've just had to sit and wait before the action starts, and with an 18-minute qualifying session, it really does take a lot of time before the cars finally decide to go out there and set a quick lap. There's no point in setting a quick lap on the tyre you want to qualify on at the start of the session when the track is not at its best. It's all about waiting till the very end. So let's keep an eye on Nowek then as he comes round the final corner and across the start-finish line to start a flying lap here in Spain. It's Me coming out of the pits there. He's well out of harm's way, braking at 100 metres into turn 1, which is, Alimonda, probably the best overtaking opportunity on the racetrack, isn't it?
Yeah, the run up to turn 4 is so important to get your throttle modulation right as you run up through turn 3, because if you get it wrong, you get out of shape, it's going to leave you very vulnerable into turn 4. But you know, coming into turn 5, that can be an overtaking opportunity as well. The following section, turn 6, it's pretty much too tight to overtake here unless someone makes a right meal of the exit of turn 5. And then this is one of my favourite parts of the track, just before the second DRS zone, turn 9, brilliant corner when you get it right. Just fly up through that, and then opening in the DRS, and then a very tricky braking zone into the hairpin here, and we could see some overtakes there as well. Although, in my opinion, the DRS zone there is almost a little bit too short for an overtake to happen, because getting the exit out there's just too much speed and time to make up there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you really have to brake really late on the brakes. You need to take a lot of risks to try and make a move there. But Nowek round the final corner, here he comes. Looks like he's going to put a benchmark on the board and let us know where we need to be. Nowek crosses the line and does beat his time with a 1:16.599. So that is the target they're all going to be aiming for. It's Me's just come out the pits to start a lap. Who else we got out there on the softs on a lap at the moment? Liquor Blocks is on a slow one. Has he just done that 1:17.6 on the softs? I'm not sure. Let's try and see who can find anyone out there on a quick lap at the moment on the softs. I think Leon's going slowly, Kalek going slowly. Who can we find on a quick lap? Is that June coming round the final corner on one? No, he's about to start one. So let's keep an eye on June then as he starts a flying lap now on the soft tyre. The Sauber driver, who's third in the driver standings at the moment, 6 points off the leader. How important it is to nail the lap. And we've mentioned it a few times, Alimonda, this season, but it's almost like it's one lap qualifying, and the pressure is really on these drivers. It might be an 18-minute session, but you only get one lap to nail it on the soft compound, don't you?
Yes, I mean, in all the qualifying sessions we've seen, and this one's playing out the same way, there's been a lot of sandbagging early on in the session, and then we see the real full pace of the drivers right at the end.
Yeah, we do. As Jim now climbs the hill and the back end sliding as he goes up the hill through turns 7 and 8 and now through the right hander of 9. I'm sure you, when you were at the Spanish Grand Prix last year, enjoyed watching up at turn 9. That seems like a fantastic spot to see some action as Jim now flies through turn 10 and into that final sector, which usually gives a good indication if your car's going to be quite quick at Monaco, which is the next race, of course, of the season. Be sure to tune into that one. That will be another cracker because it's all slow speed corners. It's all about the traction on the exit of the corners. Really tight as he now bundles his way through that chicane, and the back end steps out on Jim as he rounds the final corner, comes across the line. Where is Jim going to go? CJ's gone third, Garnet's gone fourth, and Jim goes quickest of all on the soft compound tyre, a 1:16.5. So who else we got out there? Blizzard's going quickly. This is where the session is going to come alive right at the end. So let's keep an eye on VSR Blizzard as he climbs up the hill through turn 10, through turns 11 and 12. We're waiting on him, we're waiting on everyone really to complete a lap at the end of the session. Jim was the first of the top runners to see the flag. Calic's seen the flag now, he's P9, won't go any quicker than that. Ash has gone 6th. Where has Lickoblock's gone? Look at that, Lickoblock's finally delivering this season, goes quickest of all on a 16.5. What about Blizzard? He goes P4, so Blizzard moves to P4. Who else is out there? Can go quickly. Lewis across the line, he goes 3rd. So who else? Leon for the line, he goes P7. And this is a nightmare to keep up with. Who else we got round there? Francis now on the Super Soft, a 16.4, goes quickest of all. I'm now watching Mr. Costa negotiate the final couple of corners and up towards the line. Mr. Costa, he's on the Super Softs. He could also play a factor at the top of the standings here. Costa, no, it was a poor time from Mr. Costa. And on the Super Softs, only managed to go 12th quickest, which is not quick at all on the Super Soft tyre. But it was Francis there, I think. I don't know if it changed at the end there, but I think it was Francis that got the time on the Super Soft tyre and takes a slightly surprising pole position, I wonder.
Yeah, but it just shows you the Supersoft's making a slight difference, but there's not much in it. It's me. Unfortunately, he was on the Supersoft, but he made a real hash of his final run. He didn't even beat his first run, so that's why he's ended up in 10th. He was 2nd going into the final runs of the qualifying session. Yeah,
the big story there, though, the two McLarens, top of the championship, well out of position. Blizzard only 7th, and his teammate is not even on the top of the board. He's way down, he's not even here, is he? Where is his teammate, Killerzone? He's not even here today, is he? Didn't even realise he's not actually here, Killerzone. But Francis, quickest of all, a 1:16.4. Lickoblock 2nd, and Jim 3rd, and Lewis finally getting a solid qualifying on the board with P4. But once again, it's it's difficult to predict, and it's VSR Francis who finds himself at the top of the pile. He's 9th in the standings, but of course, albeit on the super soft tyre, and I would expect him to be in the pits very early on, perhaps as early as lap 3 or 4, Ali Wonder.
Yeah, quite a mixed up grid, really, if you think about it. I mean, in terms of those in the top of the championship, Joom has really performed well, getting 3rd in the softs. But, you know, Lickleblocks, that was a fantastic time on the softs. Yeah, KB Killer not here today, but LMC Hamilton is one of the reserves, so he's replacing McLaren. But reminder, the reserves don't score constructors points, so that's actually a chance for some of the other constructors to, you know, close the gap to McLaren, who've made such a great start to the season. They're over 50 points ahead at the top at the moment. Yeah, so that's a sore one for McLaren, and Blizzard unable to take advantage of his teammate not being here, only 7th on the grid. But Joom, as you say, has performed pretty well of the championship contenders and gone 3rd quickest. So good effort from Joom, but as you say, Lickoblock's probably the star of the show. I mean, a DNF, 3 DNFs out of 4 races, and a 16th in Bahrain. Not exactly form you'd associate with someone starting on the front row of the grid, and that really just sums up ILR1 this season. Extremely unpredictable as the cars begin the parade lap here in Spain. It looks like a beautiful afternoon here in the Spanish sunshine, so I don't think we're going to see any rain, and we've not seen rain at all so far this season. But as you can see, VSR Francis starting this race from pole position on the super soft tyre. The majority of the field on the soft compound though, from 2nd with Lickoblock's Joom, Lewis in the wet 5th, Cliffy 6th, Blizzard 7th, Lambo 8th, Leon 9th, and It's Me 10th. The top, well, 2nd to 9th all in the softs, It's Me in 10th
on the Supers. He'll be frustrated with that, having qualified in 10th on Supers. That's going to ruin his afternoon, I would think. CG 11th, he's got free tyre choice, the first of those it does. He's on softs. Costa's done the same. Gone N has gone for mediums in P13. Poe and Ash Best on the softs. Calic on mediums. Hamilton on softs. Matt and Bugatti on the mediums. But we said that Ash Best usually runs well at Spain. He'll be relatively disappointed to find himself down in 15th, Alimonda, won't he?
Yes, he will, but not all is lost, starting outside the top 10. But I guess, you know, with most of the top 10 on the soft compounds, it's not going to be too much an advantage to start outside the top 10 as it stands. In terms of the drivers I'm going to be keeping an eye on outside the top 10, Ash Best is definitely one of them. Mr. Cotter as well. I thought he had a bit of a disappointing qualifying session, to be honest, because he's shown decent pace in recent races. And, you know, Lewis, he's up in 4th. You know, Liquor Blocks, well, he's the one really. He's got to get a result, whatever it is, because he's been in position to get multiple podiums this season, and he's just ended up, you know, unforced errors at Bahrain, and also last week at Baku, where he was running really strongly. So he's really just got to get anything, even if it's a point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right then. So the car's coming back round for the start of the Grand Prix, round 5 of the championship. We've got no idea about the pecking order yet, and that's what's making it so exciting. Is this the Grand Prix where the likes of Lickleblocks and Lewis, the old boys, the old kings of ILR1, finally find their feet and try and bounce back and bring themselves into championship contention? Lickleblocks yet to score on the front row. Lewis only got 12 points from the opening 4 rounds. Is this where they bounce back? We'll find out as the 5 red lights come on here and the Spanish Grand Prix is underway. Now, lights out and away we go. It's VSR Francis leading on that 600-metre run down towards turn 1, and he's got a fantastic start, easily leading down towards turn 1. Zoom in second, Lewis third. A horrible start for Lickleblocks. He drops all the way down to be 6 on the front row of the grid, sweeping up through turns 2 and 3. Francis in control, Lewis second, Zoom third, and Nowek is 4th. Through turn 4 they go, and look how close they are. We've got 3 or 4 wide there in the middle of your picture. The Mercedes of Cliffy battling with Blizzard and Lambo and Costa in the middle of the field. But it's a perfect start for Francis. He leads by 1.5 seconds, or 1.1 seconds at the start, as Blizzard does battle with TTG Lambo. So Francis from Lewis now, from June in 3rd, and Nowek 4th. Lickleblocks with a poor start in 5th. Terrible start for him.
Yeah, so Lickle did manage to recover it in turn 3 to get back up to 5th, but yeah, he just got a really poor getaway. I was on board with him. Lambo actually caught the back of the Ferrari, which meant Blizzard was able to get back in front of him. So it's getting really feisty. Relatively clean start at the back. Bugatti, though, got spun out coming out turn 2, so that's why he's 5 seconds behind Matt Tebos at the back.
Yeah, well, the opening lap then is throwing up its surprises as Lickle goes backwards, and Lewis immediately brings himself into contention. The lead soft runner, you could argue already that virtually the leader of this Grand Prix. But Francis getting the start he needed on those super soft tyres, pulling away from them. 1.5 seconds his advantage almost on this opening lap. Meanwhile, behind that you've got Lickleblocks and Nowek in close proximity in the battle for P4 and 5. The Ferrari just did not get away well at all from the start. He finally needs to get some points on the board, and that was not how he wanted to start this Grand Prix on those soft compound tyres. How long will Francis go into this race before they start falling away? Well, I can tell you, the pole sitter was Car Powerful on Friday night in ILR1 on Xbox. He lasted 3 laps before he peeled into the pits, so surely Francis won't be able to go much further than that. And already Lewis, Alimonda, cutting the gap down to under 1.3 seconds, and that's going to come down further, I would think.
Yeah, so Lewis had a fantastic opening lap. You know, he really positioned the car well. He got ahead of Novak, got ahead of June. And yeah, he's in a strong position to win this race. There's a long way to go though, 33 laps of this particular race. Lickle sort of settled down a little bit. You know, he had a pretty shaky start, but now he's right on the back of the gearbox of Novak. So he could still be a contender for the podium.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see how Lickle gets on. Not the ideal getaway, but there's a really close group. 7th, 8th and 9th. Lambo, Cliffy and Leon all in quite close proximity. We'll keep an eye on Nowek though, who looks like he might be under a little bit of pressure from Lickleblocks going across the line. We'll try and follow the action further up towards the front if there's a battle to be had, but I don't think there'll be any move on this lap. DRS, of course, just being enabled now, so it will be on the next lap. They'll use it down that straight. There is two DRS zones on this track, running from turn 9 to 10, but as Alimonda mentioned in in qualifying. It's very difficult to make a move there. You really do have to. It's a do or die attempt if you try it there. The best overtaking opportunity really is down that start-finish straight into turn 1. But Francis already, look at that, really struggling. Lewis 4 tenths behind him, and perhaps with the difference in the grip of the tyres, he might be the one person that might make a move into turn 10 here, Alan Wonder.
Yes, well, I was going to mention that, France is getting out of shape there. But yeah, Francis had a horrible final sector, made a right meal of the chicane, and he lost half a second. But here comes Lewis. Yeah,
Lewis down the outside, then he's forced to go on the outside. Francis on the inside. Lewis steams round the outside and eases through into the lead of the Grand Prix here in Spain. So is this the moment where Lewis finally starts to get a grip in this championship? Now, the advantage he's had is no one's run away with it in the early exchanges, and he now has the lead. And is this the afternoon where it finally begins to click? Francis clearly struggling out there. Why would anyone start on the super soft tyre on this evidence? It's Me has also went backwards on the super soft, and look at Jim now lining up Francis on the run down the start finish straight as the DRS is active for the first time in this race. Jim steams up the inside, and surely he'll outbreak the Williams into turn 1, and he does. Jim now up into P2, and he can maintain the pressure on the runaway leader. Lewis out front, so Francis dropping backwards, and now Nowak immediately onto his case as well, and Nowak, surely the German, will steam up the inside into turn 4, and indeed he does. Francis will try and defend, but he can do nothing, and he'll have to switch his attention now to Lickelblocks, who's going to come fighting back round the outside at turn 5. Can he do it? No, he can't. He'll have to be careful though. He's going to get boxed in because Blizzard now has a run on him, but no, as they go down through 6 into 7, it just gets a little bit too tight, and there's no way through. But Francis is just a sitting duck. He has just lost all grip he had in those super soft tyres, and now Lickelblocks is going through. It's going to be 3 wide as they reach the brakes here. Down into turn
Blizzard.
10. Blizzard steaming down the inside. Is Blizzard going to make it on the pair of them? Yes, he is. Up the hill through turns 11 into turn 12, and incredibly, Blizzard gets through on Lickelblocks. Opportunist driving at its very best, and Blizzard goes through. Brilliant move, wasn't it?
That was fantastic from Blizzard. The gap was there. Lickelblocks, I think, made a mistake. Oh, Lickel getting all out of shape out of the final corner. I thought he was going to head into the barriers again, but look out front. Joom is now right behind Lewis.
Oh, Joom behind Lewis, 3 tenths in it at the front of the field. Is all happening all of a sudden. As soon as the DRS has gone active, this race has come to life. Lewis and Joom very, very closely matched. And Lewis, well, he won the championship last year, didn't have to fight too hard in many races, but he's going to have to fight tooth and nail for every single victory this season, no doubt about it. He got into the lead of this Grand Prix. Some last season would have said he'd have ran away with it, but the early signs here show that he is never in a million years going to run away with this one. Joom and Nowak shadowing him all the way on the lap 5 out of 33. Lewis, Joom, Nowak, then Blizzard, and by the way, into the pits has come VSR Francis. He's given up already on those super soft tyres. It's Me still trundling along out there in P11, but he will be having an absolute nightmare, I would think. But Lewis, Joom, Nowak, your front 3, and yeah, surprisingly, Lewis once again really struggling to find any sort of pace or any sort of pace advantage over everyone else, Ali Wonder.
Yeah, well, I think his pace is okay, but I just think, Joom, he just has a match for him at the moment, and is able to use the slipstream in the DRS zone just to keep up. And I don't think it's going to be long before Blizzard and Lickel catch up to these top 3 to make this a 5-way fight for the lead. Lambo, in terms of his sector times, not quite able to match the top 5 ahead of him.
Well, here comes Joom now, right in the slipstream behind Lewis. I don't think Lewis can do much about this. Joom pulls out to the left-hand side, and he's going to come steaming past. The Sauber driver moves up into the lead of the race. Lewis didn't want to fight it. I'm surprised he wasn't able to move up into another gear there, or another rich mode. I don't know what mode he was in, Lewis, but it seemed far too easy for Joom, and he went coasting through into the lead of the Grand Prix. Now, the big question is, can Lewis stick to him, or is he going to be at the mercy of Nowak pretty soon? I think the latter.
Yes, well, Lewis has got a serious problem in terms of his battery. He's only got 33% available, and Novak behind him has nearly 90% battery available. So, Lewis is going to have to strike a balancing act. I don't think he's going to be able to challenge Joom for the time being. Just going to try and keep in his DRS range just to aid him with the defence from the Toro Rosso driver behind.
Yeah, absolutely. The advantage is for the top 3. They do have a 1.5 second lead over Blizzard, so they'll not be a threat from behind unless they really start scrapping like crazy. So the front three do have that little cushion over Blizzard in 4th with Lickle 5th, Leon 6th, and the ever consistent Lambo in 7th with Cliffy behind that in 8th. But you always have to watch out for Cliffy. He always comes to life in these Grand Prix and brings himself back into play. So around that final chicane they go, really bumpy, really tricky to negotiate that. Very uncomfortable for the driver as they're sitting close to the floor. As Nowek now runs right up behind Lewis, and Lewis here really struggling for any sort of straight line speed. And look at that, forced onto the grass. Look how close that was in the run down to turn 1, and somehow Lewis just about clings on. How did you read that one, Alimonda? Was Nowek perhaps going for a gap that wasn't there, or was Lewis squeezing him? It was tough to call.
Oh yeah, that was a big squeeze. It kind of reminded me when Vettel overtook Bottas in 2017, but unlike that time, Novak wasn't able to get the move done, and so he backed off in the end. Probably better to do that, otherwise he might have had a huge off.
Yeah, goodness me, these guys giving each other no inch, which is quite surprising, because Lewis didn't really fight hard with June, but he really got his elbows out for Novak, didn't he? I don't know why he suddenly changed his approach there. Perhaps he just was not interested in letting Nowak go the same way it was with Jim. Maybe he just got a wake-up call from his team. Don't let these guys go. I'm not sure. But all of a sudden he started getting really defensive, didn't he?
Yeah, I get the sense of it being a bit later in the race on their final stints. I think Nowak would have gone a bit hard on the brakes, but I think as it's only lap 7, I think he thought, well, it is kind of there, but maybe there'll be other chances.
Yeah, there will be, and perhaps it will be on this occasion, but at the moment Leon, Little Blocks and Blizzard in battle, but of course the priority goes to the top 3, so we'll keep an eye on that. Nowek again lining up Lewis down towards turn 1. Behind that, looks like Leon and Little are going to go side by side, but here comes Nowek round the outside of Lewis. Can't do that. What about Leon? He's got that move done on Lickle Blocks in a turn 1. So through goes Leon up into P5. But what about Nowek as they go through turn 3 down towards turn 4? Is there going to be any way through on Lewis? Doesn't look like it. But interestingly, despite these two jostling, Joom isn't getting away either. And I think it shows that the DRS in the slipstream is really powerful and making it really difficult for Joom to get away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised given the squabbling that Lewis and Nowek alone have been doing that Blizzard hasn't been able to just cruise up to the back of the two. Doesn't look like he's battering saving or anything. It just seems to be missing a few tenths at the moment. Or maybe has a bit more fuel than the guys in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not so sure. Not so sure what's going on. And you know, the other thing that the drivers have to watch at this Grand Prix, which I found out when I was racing on Thursday night. By the way, I've retired now, but I can't race anymore. I'm that slow, so I chucked it. But I have to say, I found that the tyre temperature, trying to get the tyre temperature right, was so difficult. I was overheating the tyres all the time, and I was getting tyres too warm. The back end was sliding everywhere. I wondered if that could be a factor in this race. But we spoke about it before, haven't we, Alimonda, about how the tyres in this game are so much more sensitive to problems. But before we talk about that, let's have another look at Lewis and Nowek down towards turn 1. Is there a move being made there? Nope, doesn't look like it, and it stays as you were. Lambo behind Lickle also close to making a move, but nothing coming of it as Leon's actually on a real charge here, isn't he? Getting onto the back of Blizzard now after having passed Lickle Blocks. Really starting to show some serious pace, and I see a dark horse here this afternoon. Both Toro Rossos showing some fine pace, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Leon's had a pretty nightmare season so far. No points from the first 4 races. He was 14th last week in Baku. He was looking good for some points, but then he just caught up some incidents. But yeah, no, his race pace really good at the moment. Blizzard's out DRS range of Novak ahead, so you know it could be Toro Rosso 3rd and 4th very shortly the way it's going.
Yeah, it really looks very likely. It might even be 3rd and 4th, 2nd and 4th, I should say, because Novak again looking menacing behind Lewis. June doing just enough, I would say, at the moment to stay ahead of Lewis. I think that 7/10 gap is too much for Lewis to overhaul down that straight down towards turn 1. Who's that getting a 3-second time on doing? I think I just missed that.
It's Francis. Yeah, Francis picking up a penalty. He wasn't near anybody, so I'm guessing he must have cut the chicane somewhere.
Pardon me, sort of coming across there, but Novak got so much understeer there coming round the final corner. He had to lift out the throttle and he would have went into the gravel trap. That was just a sign of the dirty air there. So he might drop into the clutches of Blizzard soon, but before that, the teammate of Novak, look at Leon having a look. Meanwhile, behind that, there's another battle going on. That's Lambo and Lickle dueling up through turn 3 and into turn 4. And it looks like Lickle has just about got the upper hand, but Lambo's coming back. He's going to go steaming round the outside at turn 4. You can make a move there as Calic picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. They're starting to pile up on the drivers, but Lambo's still behind Lecco, and it will remain that way. But as Lewis finally shaken off Nowek, because the dirty air really played a factor through that final corner, and he ran wide. And through turns 9 and that final corner, dirty air is a real factor, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it can really unbalance the car sometimes, and especially coming out turn 9. You know, if you take too much curb and you get, you know, a bit of turbulence like that, you can just pitch your car violently to the right and end your race instantly.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see if Leon can do anything about Blizzard this time. Thankfully, Nowek seems to have picked up the pace again and got back onto the tail of Lewis. So maybe Blizzard, the championship leader, just doesn't have the pace to race with the front three at the moment. As Lewis looks like he's gone a little bit deep there into the final corner, or into the chicane, and now Nowek's on him again, and again you can see that dirty air as he's forced right out to the curb, but he keeps the momentum, and Lewis is surely a sitting duck as they go down the start-finish straight, side by side. Lewis does have DRS to the car in front, but it's going to be to no avail, as through goes Nowek, but Lewis breaks very late, and goes and goes round into a spin, and rejoins the track. Oh, pretty unsafely. He's lucky everyone ghosted there, and Lewis drops to PA, and the world champion once again seemingly unable to get his season up and running, and that to me just seemed like it was desperate Dan stuff. Too little, too late on the brakes, and the gap wedged and closed, a bit like Sebastian Vettel in recent races, Alejandro.
I was going to just say that, yeah, he's in a Red Bull, but that was a Vettel. I mean, it was a bit of a desperate lunge. I think Nowek had the place there, really, just from the straight line speed. But, you know, we're only a third of the race in. Was there really a need to try and get back like that? I don't think so.
Well, it's a shame for Lewis. It looks like another race is going to tick by without taking any points out of those guys at the front, and the longer that continues, I know it's early, but the longer that continues, the more difficult it will be for him to get back into the World Championship battle. I mean, it's hard to say he's not in it at the moment, given how close and unpredictable it's been. But 12 points in the front
Blizzard pits
is not what you want, as Blizzard is coming in with Cliffy as well. So I would presume Alan that set of medium tyres.
Yeah, I think so. And Lewis has now made a right meal in the final sector, and Frisky passes him with absolute ease, although Lewis might try and come back at him in turn 1.
Yep, Lewis having a look at Frisky CJ, no sign of coming back. And Lewis's nightmare lap or so just gets a little bit worse as Frisky CJ moves up past him. And the problem with a spin like that is those tyre temperatures, and let's talk about those briefly. If they're not in the right zone, you really don't have the confidence in the car, and in this game it's crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the soft runners are starting to struggle a little bit. One of those being Ash Best. He's losing places in time, and really defended aggressively from Kalik, but it wasn't enough. He's now dropped out of the top 10 again.
Yeah, so Ash Best dropping down to P11, and as we said, 2 10th places in a row, and it will do well to get to another 10th place. By the looks of it, after winning the opening round of the season, it started to go a little bit pear-shaped for the early pace setter in this championship, and now he's under threat from Matt Tibos, or Matt 32575 if you want to say that mouthful. He's going to go round the outside of Ash Best. He won't find a way through there, and the Melbourne Grand Prix winner holds on, but it clearly looks to me like those soft tyres are past their best, particularly on Ash Best's car. But the guys at the front are all pouring in, and it's Jum, Leon, Lickel and Lambo all coming in, Alejandro.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised Ash Best didn't come in. Maybe he feels he needs to do an extra lap just to stretch out this stint a little bit further, although Matt Tebos is right behind him. So yeah, all mediums, so it looks like a fairly standard one-stop race here.
Tell you what, look how close Blizzard is to making the undercut work on Jum into turn 1. He's going to go round the outside into turn 1. Is he going to make it stick through turn 2? They're going to go side by side up the hill. Jum will have cold tyres, and through turn 3 is going to be no match for Blizzard, and he's going to come steaming through on the inside of turn 3, through turn 4, and through he goes. Meanwhile, in the background, all sorts of action going on as Lickel and Leon also contest 10th position. Side by side they go in the background. Cliffy watches on, but it looks like Lickel will have the inside, he'll have the line, and he parks it on the apex and forces Leon to stay behind. But fantastic from Blizzard. He's got the jump and now up into what would be a net P2 net lead. I'm not sure what it'll be, and we'll see how Nowek gets on, because Nowek has not chose to come into the pitch yet. So surely this lap is when Nowek will come in and we'll really see the true order. But I believe This is going to be Blizzard potentially leading this, with Nowak coming into the pits.
Well, he was only P3 earlier, but the undercut working fantastically for him, and he's already pulling away from June. If he can get out of the DRS now, like Novak, well, he could be as low as P5 in terms of what the net will be when everyone pits, because he's gone extra laps.
Yeah, well, Blizzard's going to be easily ahead of him. They're all going to be easily ahead of him, and it's all going wrong for Novak. Or are they going to be easily ahead of him? I'm talking rubbish. They're going to be very close down towards turn 1, but Blizzard has come from nowhere and is now leading the race with a 2-lap undercut, or he's going to be the net leader when Gran, Kalik, Matt and Francis pit, and it's all turned on its head, and now Jum's going to try and do to Nowak what he got done to him in the previous lap. Cold tyres for Nowak this time. Jum with
virtual safety car.
Oh, that is going to really help Francis out now, and Kalik, and Gran and Matt, but I don't think they'll get to the end on the mediums, and I don't think it will affect them too much, will it? It might.
Yeah, Lewis is out. Lewis is out.
Yeah, why? Where's he crashed it?
I don't know, but I'm guessing that might have caused it. But maybe after he pitted, he had an incident or something.
Yeah, I think it's down at turn 1 or turn 2. I'm trying to get an idea from Mr. Costa's on board. I don't see his car, but that looks like where it's been. So Lewis is out of the Grand Prix. Now the big question is, what will Gran, Kalik, Francis and Matt Tibos do? I mean, I think the virtual safety car might have came at a time where it really won't change much. In fact, there you go, the safety car, the virtual safety car has come in, so it's now irrelevant, and we go back on our way as we were, so no effects there from the virtual safety car, but it is going to be Blizzard, your net leader, from Nowak, Jum, Lickle, Cliffy and Leon, as Cliffy and Leon are actually doing battle at the moment, very closely matched those two in P9 and 10. We're waiting for the race to sort itself back out as Gran, Kalik, Matt will be going long, Francis on the 2-stop as well, but here comes Leon on Cliffy. He's going to go down the outside. Is he going to outbrake? He doesn't need to worry about outbraking him. He's going to outdrag the Mercedes into turn 1, and on lap 15 out of 33 he moves up into P9 as Blizzard now negotiates the traffic. Those guys yet to make a stop, and he makes light work of Matt Tibos, doesn't he? As Jum nowhere.
Yeah. Blizzard, that was a fantastic move with Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos sort of got all out of shape in turn 3, and Blizzard had to go right on the curbs on the outside, and he just swept round him. It was a really nice move to watch. Yeah, it's all worked out very nicely for Blizzard, and for some, Jum has picked up a 5-second stop-go penalty for having the most minimal contact you'll ever see with Novak, so that must have been during the virtual safety car.
Yeah, not going well at all for... Well, sorry, not going well at all there for Lewis. I'm just saying in the chat that he's not in a good mood at all. I think he's blaming others, so I don't know if he had an incident on his own or he had a contact with someone, but he is in trouble. But Jum, yeah, battling with Nowak, and all working out well for Blizzard as he's negotiated Matt before Jum and Nowak and Lickle have got there. He might even be getting onto the tail of Francis soon, and Francis actually won't be far away from a pit stop, I wouldn't have thought. We'll see when he does decide to get rid of those soft compound tyres, but it wouldn't be too far away as Matt now is under threat from Jum, and Jum should surely ease past him. He does, and even Nowak will have the time to get himself alongside and past Matt into turn 1. So Jum and Nowak making light work of the medium tyre on Matt, which is now 15 laps over. I mean, I wonder how far Matt will go. I mean, surely it's going to be to around, what, lap 20, lap 21 before he makes a pit stop?
Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, Lickle, with that stop-go penalty for Jum, who not far ahead, he's put himself in contention for a podium now. After his poor start to the race, he's back in it now. Jum, another penalty. Yep,
Jum really starting to fall away from a chance of winning this race with penalties like that. So that really makes Blizzard the favourite now, although his tyres are quite old relative to, well, I say they're quite old, they're going to be 2 laps older than Nowak, who would be his nearest rival now. So can Nowak be the surprise man to go and pick up a 4th different winner in 5 races? Now Nowak hasn't really been at the sharp end consistently so far this season, but he's certainly put on a show today, as has his teammate, to be fair, Leon as well, who has had a nightmare season. He and Lickle blocks have suddenly just came and arrived and finally look like they're having a solid race. I mean, there is a long way to go still. I mean, we're only just beyond the halfway mark, but are they finally going to get the results they would probably feel they deserve as they go down the start-finish straight onto another lap? And it looks like Blizzard is closing in on Francis, and this should be pretty easy, Alimander.
Wow, you say that, but I wonder if Francis, it feels like, well, I actually fancy, trying to hold up Blizzard a little bit, although look how much more grip Blizzard has. Could be done here, actually.
Yep, down the inside he goes, and Blizzard is surely going to ease past Francis. I mean, Francis might want to fight it because he's in a two-stop and might want to come back at them later on, but I really don't think that two-stop strategy is competitive at all, and it shows as he easily is overtaken by Blizzard. And Francis, and he's going to have to put on a set of medium tyres at this rate. Those softs he won't be able to put another set of softs on, and that just shows you how poor the super soft tyre is around this track, doesn't it? Only 2 laps out of them. Yeah, and it forces them to do that.
That virtual safety car it's a bit of a shame for Francis. If he'd been a bit nearer to the pit lane, he could have got like a free stop and got rid of those softs, but because we went back to racing halfway through that particular lap, he wasn't able to take advantage of that.
Yep, absolutely. And now Jum's going to be on his case pretty quickly, and Jum, of course, with that hatful of penalties hanging over his head. I think it's 8 seconds worth he's got to his name, as Jum now lines up Francis, but he'll have to be careful. Doesn't want to be caught on the wrong side of Francis, and he won't need to worry about that. He's going to go down the inside and complete the move very quickly, but Nowek in behind is going to pick up a double toe here and close and close and close, and might even have a look into turn 1. He can't quite do it. Nowek, the wise old head that he is, waits and waits for his moment, but look at this. Oh! I said wise, maybe not. He taps round Francis into a spin, and that just shows you the difference in traction there. Nowek might face a penalty near the end of the race for that one. And look at Leon now on Lickel blocks, and the two Toro Rossos sandwiching the Ferrari of Lickel and boxing him in. But surely that from Nowek was just a little bit too impatient on the throttle when it came to trying to get ahead of Francis, who was just pretty much a roadblock there, wasn't he?
Yes, I mean, I think he was a bit impatient there. You know, the move wasn't there. I think he was certainly looking for that double overtake, but you know, he could have just waited to turn 3, and I think he would have easily swept past.
Yeah, well, I think the stewards might have a look at that one. I mean, we're not the stewards, we don't decide, but I'm pretty sure FSR Francis will be a bit disappointed or outraged with that one. I'm pretty sure he'll be wanting to take that one to the stewards, and Nowek, who could challenge for the victory this afternoon, might have that hanging over his head, and that means Lickel and Leon behind him will be looking to finish ahead of him in this Grand Prix. And Lickel and Leon, as I've just mentioned, they don't have any points so far this season, and all of a sudden find themselves fighting at the sharp end of the order. It just shows you how unpredictable this ILR1 season is proving to be. We're still waiting on Kalik making his pit stop, and when he does, I'm pretty sure he'll fit the soft compound tyre. Goranen's been in, and he's P12 at the moment. We'll see how his progress develops. He's now currently P9.
Oh dear, oh dear.
What are you seeing?
Oh well, yeah, Kalik and Blizzard got really close, and there was slight contact. Kalik just went completely off the road at turn 3. He's trying to help his teammate hold up Blizzard, but I don't think it was quite as clear cut those and no practices that we just saw. But you know, there was certainly a little bit of contact there.
And now Kalik's been spat off into the wall, and out he goes. Apologies, folks, for missing that one on the screen. I never realised how close those top two were. So Kalik out of the Grand Prix, having a fine opening stint on the mediums, has gone in now up to P8 as a result. And gone in, he might be 9 seconds off the back of Lambo on those softs, but he will make some progress over the next few laps. But whether it'll be enough to get him further up the order, we'll have to wait and see. But now we have Kalik out of the Grand Prix. Not the circumstances we'd have liked him to get out of the picture with the top guys. We now have the order of Blizzard, Jum, Nowek, Lickel, Leon, Cliffy and Lambo, and the top 7 are separated by 6.1 seconds. Just how great is it to see this field so close?
I know, it is fantastic. Lickel blocks, he does worry me a little bit as these tyres wear off, because I've seen him so many times, the back end being really twitchy, and some of these corners, and when he doesn't have the grip near the end of the race, I do worry that he's going to get a definitely embrace with the barriers at some point. Hopefully not, because he's had a great race so far.
Yep, he and Leon, has to be said. I just love the two of them to get on the board. You know, we want to have this championship as tight as it can be, and have the best drivers fighting out for it. And we know how good Lickel is, we know how good Lewis is as well, being the champion. We want to see those guys at the front, and Leon also showing that he's got some great pace too. So it would be great to see those guys pick up some points at long last. I mean, even for me as a commentator, it's frustrating to see Lewis having such a struggling start to the season, a stuttering start, because I think it would be a great story for the championship if Lewis was to be out of contention early doors and just reel it back in and make it a really thrilling season. I mean, it's going to be thrilling anyway, but I think that backdrop, that story, would make things all the more exciting. But at the moment, 5 rounds down, 12 points from a possible 125, that is nowhere near championship form for Lewis W03. But let's see how this race pans out. We've got a really good scrap developing at the moment between Lickle, Leon and Cliffy. That looks like a really exciting, that looks like the closest one of those top guys that's developing at the moment, and it looks like Leon is the man on the move at the moment, Alan, doesn't it?
Yeah, Leon's had a fantastic race so far. He's actually just having a look in terms of the gains in this race. Yeah, he's gained 4 places from the start. Blizzard's gained 6, so he's had a really strong race. Ash Best has gained 5 as well. So, he's only 10th at the moment, but he can still pick up some more because some of the drivers around him are picking up quite a few penalties, which is kind of surprising for this track, really.
Yeah, it is. It's a track that you sometimes see a few penalties, particularly in the final chicane, but not as potent as the likes of Australia for penalties. We've seen quite a few there. But yeah, it's interesting to see the drivers picking up penalties, and also interesting to see that Jim is really starting to cut that gap down to Blizzard. And Jim this afternoon probably looks like the quickest guy on pace. Perhaps Nowak would argue with that one, but I'd say I don't think Blizzard's the man with the outright pace. I think that undercut's what brought him into the position he's in. But the good news for Blizzard is Jim's racked up a few penalties, and it will be difficult down towards turn 1, and Jim really needs to get a move on here and go about passing Blizzard and try and build some sort of gap to try and nullify those penalties, doesn't he? That's all he can do.
Later, but he has got a legitimate 3-second penalty, so Blizzard has the advantage at the moment. But with the pace that Joom is showing, his fastest lap is actually 1/10 of a second faster than Blizzard. So if he can get past, he's got enough laps to build up, enough seconds maybe to win the race overall. After the stewards have looked at some of the other penalties, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how it goes. I mean, yeah, you're right to say that. I mean, Blizzard, of course, with the contact with here, and it's caused horrendous connection issues. I mean, I was wanting to read the chat there, but I'm not going to because it caused a lot of lag on the stream. Don't want to damage the stream for anyone else watching, so I've turned that off again. But, yeah, apologies for that. I put it on for 2 seconds. That's how bad my internet is, and then it just starts lagging out everywhere, so no, I'm not having that. But, yeah, as you're saying, Joom, he's got the 3 seconds hanging over him. Blizzard's got an incident hanging over him. Nowak's got an incident hanging over him. So if they all were to get penalised, the 2 guys that don't have points in 4th and 5th will be the ones picking up the pieces here, and we'll see how it goes. But you said you saw the Blizzard one and it wasn't clear cut about that, so it could quite easily be a situation where it's a racing incident. But we've got a yellow flag in sector 2, and that's LMC Hamilton. So why is that? He's off at turn 9. Yeah,
he's lost it. And luckily didn't hit the crash barrier, but yeah, he's called it a day, so that's off their retirement.
Yep, so he joins Calic Rist and Lewis on the sidelines. Lewis seemingly off at turn 1, 2. I'm not sure what happened. You saw Calic bouncing off into the wall after contact with Blizzard, and now LMC Hamilton down at turn 9, ending his race. But we've got 10 laps to go here at the Spanish Grand Prix, and it only would be ILR1 on PlayStation if we had this scene. Look at that, 6 cars at the front of the field on the same strategy, all in the shot after 23 laps. That is what I love about this league. It's just so close, so tight, incredible. Look at that. We've got the McLaren, the Sauber, the Toro Rosso, the Ferrari, another Toro Rosso, and then the Mercedes of VRT Cliffy. I mean, if you could ask for a bet, if you were a betting man, where would you go at the moment with this one?
Well, I think the problem for Blizzard is I just feel that if he gets overtaken by Joom, he's going to get absolutely swamped by the other cars in this top 6. So he's got one hell of a battle on his hands, and he's really struggling for front grip in some of these faster corners, which is why he's being reeled in by Joom. But he seems to have, he's keeping enough battery to keep ahead on the main straight, but it's more like the corners like turn 3, turn 9. That's where he's really struggling in particular.
Yeah, this is really shaping up for something special. I tell you now, if you guys are watching this stream, you have got to go sharing this with your pals, because this one is going to be a thriller. So often we get 6-car battles, but it's not always we see them for the lead of this Grand Prix. This really is going to be an absolute barnstorming finish. Do not go anywhere. It's Blizzard versus Jim versus Nowak versus Lickle versus Leon versus Cliffy. What a battle this promises to be. And remember, Blizzard is on the oldest tyres of all. Cliffy also on 12 lap tyres too, but surely that will play a factor in the closing laps of the Grand Prix when he nears towards the cliff. And Joom with that 3-second time penalty looks like he's quicker than Blizzard, but just can't get that move done. Nowek, another car that looks really quick. Lickle, who was the quickest driver on the soft tyre in qualifying, he's got pace. Leon as well, finally showing the pace he is capable of, and Cliffy always there, always fighting. So let's go round the final corner and across the line for lap 25 out of 33. Is Jim close enough to make any sort of move on Blizzard as they run towards turn 1? Blizzard goes defensive, Jim on the inside, forced to go to the outside, but he can't do it into turn 1, and Blizzard's just about got enough straight line speed and enough battery in his pocket to hold this Sauber back. But surely over the next couple of laps, as the tyres wear on Blizzard's car, he'll run out of traction in that final corner, and he'll run out of straight at the end of that long straight down to turn 1, and Jim will be alongside surely in the next few laps.
Yes, I mean, Joom did a similar thing at Bahrain where he, tactically drained the battery of the opposition in front. Although Blizzard hasn't been too tempted into that, unlike KB Killer at Bahrain. So it's getting so tense now. A single mistake is going to have a 3-second penalty for Nowek. Well,
there you go then. So Joom and Nowek now picking up the penalties. Only Blizzard of the front three doesn't have one. Lickle and Leon, we don't believe, have any either. So those two could be on the podium at this rate, having scored no points up to this point of the season so far. This is what we were talking about all afternoon long in the stream and in the championship battle. We've got the guys that have been there since the start of the season, and now we're starting to see Lickle and Leon show that they have the pace to fight in this championship, and it's now giving us a situation where we have 6 cars all in a line battling for the victory. Down towards turn 1, is there going to be any moves on this lap? It doesn't look like it, and Blizzard is just about doing enough, and it's causing a DRS train where nobody can make any kind of move, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just waiting for Joom to make a move. But at the moment, if Blizzard were to pick up another warning, I think he'd get a penalty. Lickle would be the net leader of this race because he's got no penalties at the moment.
And is that the same for Leon?
Leon had a penalty, so did Cliffy.
Well, there you go then. So it's all about Lickle then. So if Lickle and Blizzard were to pick one up, it would just be as you were, and that really just goes to show you. They are all picking up penalties. Look at that shot as they all flash through your screen up into turn 9 and down towards turn 10. This really is one of the most, I wouldn't say it's a classic yet, it's shaping up to be. I'd say this is one of the most tense races I've covered in my time commentating, just for the unpredictability, just for the precision that's required and the focus and the concentration these drivers need, isn't it?
Yes, and what I am getting a sense of is that, some of the throttle application is really spinning up the rears. So I think the rears on these mediums are starting to get a little bit worn. So some mistakes may be incoming from some of the drivers. Well,
this is really starting to hot up across the line. Lap 27 out of 33. Can Blizzard cling on? If the advantage he has, he doesn't have any penalties. Many of the cars behind do, but at the moment, Lickle Blocks is in position to win this race. I'm not sure he'll know it. I mean, I think Jeff tells him that the car in front is a penalty, but doesn't tell him much more. Unless he's watching the stream, he will not know about the penalty situation of others around him. And Alimonda, I mean, what do you think the drivers would do? Do you think a lot of them would try and listen into the stream for information, have it by their side, or do you think that would just distract them, need full concentration on their own race and worry about everything else later?
Well, I know some of them do. I know Ash Best definitely does, because it can be a useful companion for strategy. I mean, I tend to have it on for the races I do, but I tend to not have the sound on. I just have a glance, really, when I go into the pit lane, and then I just pay attention to what's on the actual screen.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's just a bit of both. So there you go, then a little bit of insight there, and to watch some of the drivers do. Spanish picks up a 3-second time penalty. But yeah, as you say, Ash Best, the man who won the opening round of the season in Melbourne, he's one driver that likes to listen into the stream. So, Ash, if you're watching, hello. Hope you're enjoying your afternoon's racing. But this is looking really close now for Jim round the final corner. He's
wow, close.
He's basically pushing him, isn't he, through that final corner. And I do not think there's going to be anything that can be done. As
here comes Lickle.
Makes a move on Nowek in the background. But meanwhile, as they run down towards turn 1, it looks like Jim is finally going to wrestle the lead away.
Lickle!
And it's Lickle again! Lickle again! Oh, I don't believe it. How many times this season is he going to end up having incidents? And Lickle looks like his run of 0 points is going to continue.
Well, I can't imagine he would have spun himself for that one. I think he must have made contact with or contact was made with him, one of Toro, because he was fighting Novak really hard. So I think there was contact there at some point. But I didn't see it though, because the camera angle gave me the side of Little's car as he span. So I didn't see exactly what happened, but I think there was contact with one of the Toro Rossos, had to be.
Yeah, well, that's a real shame. Real shame for us. A real shame for us, and a real shame for Lickle Blocks as well, to see that 5-car battle reduced to, or 6-car battle reduced to 5 now. But Jum has made the march. He's made the move on Blizzard, and is this the key for him now to break away and build 3 seconds on Blizzard? Because one of the drivers that didn't have penalties, Lickle Blocks, is now out of contention, and if Blizzard can stay within 3 seconds, he will win the race. If he can't, Jum will win this race, and Blizzard's now under a lot of pressure to push, isn't he? Because he needs to push to keep it within 3 seconds, and that might invite another penalty onto him, couldn't it? Or a penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, Leon, you know, he's now got a shot at getting a podium. He's got the same amount of penalties as Novak, but I think he's got fresher tyres, I believe. No, actually no, 1 lap more actually. But yeah, Blizzard's just got to keep in the toe and not pick up a penalty. I think he's still looking good for the win here.
Yeah, well, Lickle Blocks has just said in the chat he's been swiped out. So I mean, obviously we can't make a judgment on that from the view we had, but I'm sure we'll see it on Twitter later on, or there'll be some sort of fallout from that one. But one of the Toro Rossos, I presume, or as you said, Alimondo has made contact with Lickle, and that's resulted in his drop down, and he's actually come into the pits, and I think he's going to retire from the Grand Prix, I would presume, down outside the points, and another race ticks by where Lickle gets nothing. It's just not going right for Lickle. It's not going right for Lewis this season. 2 men that have won races. Well, one of them has won a championship, but it either is a new change of the guard, or they just can't get it right at the moment, and maybe, just maybe, the season will kick on later on. But the longer it goes on, the less chance they are going to have in this championship battle. But Novak looks pretty close to Blizzard as they come round the final corner. Is he now going to make a move on Blizzard? I don't think so. I think Blizzard will be saved by that DRS, won't he?
Yes, I think I get the sense the stewards are going to be quite busy tonight. They might have to get Johnny Herbert and Damon Hill in there to help out, because there's been quite a few incidents. They've been very marginal. I don't think there's been any malice to them, but there's been probably a few things that will get reported if they recorded their footage. But yeah, Blizzard is doing a good job though. I think his tyres are not in great shape, but he's keeping within. June doesn't have enough pace to break the DRS. It's very difficult to break the DRS at this track with those 2 zones. So unless Blizzard makes a huge mistake in sector 2, Blizzard just has to keep in touch and he will win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. The pressure is on him though, because if Novak starts getting involved, that's the last thing he wants. He'll start losing time to June, and you have to say at the moment, all it takes is 1 corner cut from Blizzard, 1 out breaking himself, one time out breaking himself, and Novak's on his case. I mean, it's still finely balanced, but Blizzard, as you say, he just has to stroke it home, keep his focus, and he should win this race. Jim just cannot break that DRS. But if he was to break that DRS, Blizzard would be a sitting duck surely to those Toro Rossos behind, because those tyres are older than both the Toro Rossos.
Yes, and Blizzard will know that as well. He knows that he can't fall out of a second of June, otherwise, Novak and Leon will swamp him, and that could cost him the time. But no, Blizzard's actually coming back.
Yeah, Blizzard is coming back at Jim, and will he decide to go for the move? I mean, his engineer may have told him that Jim's got a penalty. He may not have told him, and that is that's what we don't know. I mean, does he know he's got the penalty? Does he not? That's the big question. So Blizzard might go aggressive to try and win this race. Jim is going to be his closest championship rival after this Grand Prix, regardless of what happens, because of course his teammate Kiri Kilzone is not here tonight. So this is it. Jim is his biggest rival, so a 7-point swing either way will mean a 14 points. Well, 14-point swing, that's what it means really. He'll either gain 7 points or drop 7 points. So if he doesn't know that Jim's got a penalty, he might want to go for it.
Yes, and also McLaren, despite the fact that only 1 car has run, because Hamilton, even if he had finished, wasn't eligible for Constructors' point, they're going to extend their Constructors' lead still to Sauber, with Kallick retiring and June likely, with his penalties, to finish behind, the McLaren driver behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see how it goes. But another thing I just read here, one of the people in the chat has actually informed Blizzard that June's got penalties. So there you go. But another thing to note, look at the gap, 9/10, nearly a full second. Novak bringing himself into contention, maybe here towards the end of this Grand Prix. Who picked up penalties there? I've seen a couple of cars at the bottom of the screen pick up penalties. Was it Bugatti and someone?
Lickelblock set the fastest lap of the race, and then Bugatti. I think Bugatti's got the most penalties. Oh, Lickel's out.
Yep, Lickel's Paul Hamilton, Callaghan on the sidelines with Lewis as well, and just a disastrous weekend again for him, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's been a very professional job from Blizzard. I have to say, I would say he's not been the quickest here at Spain this week, but yet again he's going to get a great result. It'll be, well, assuming he doesn't get a penalty, it's going to be his third win in a row.
Yeah, strategical genius, great driving, great strategical mind as well with that decision to come in early. We realised the track position would be crucial, and it's worked out perfectly. And as we're about to start the final lap, he's got himself back within that 7/10 to June, so it's going to be difficult for anything to be done. But look at Nowak, he's trying so hard to get into position behind Blizzard. As a matter of fact, this is as close as he's been to the back of Blizzard, and he might have a run. Oh, he's touched him! A little touch on the back of Blizzard. June breaks out of more than a second, and this final lap could be a little bit more bumpier for Blizzard than he would have liked. The gap up to 1.4, and not only that, he's going to have to get defensive from both Toro Rossos down towards turn 1. This is not what Blizzard wanted. Nowak round the outside, and is Nowak through? Yes, he is! Nowak up into P2. Not officially, because Blizzard is not got any penalties, but this is going to allow June to potentially break free. I would think it's too little too late, unless there's any contact, but not what Blizzard wants, is it?
No, Blizzard went onto the grass just before the final chicane. That allowed Novak to give him, well, you can never really overtake through the chicane, but there was light contact again, and that's cost Blizzard there. A good run out of the final corner. Novak sweeping around the outside. Brilliant stuff. But I think it's too little too late for June. Yeah,
I've changed the gap to the leader, because that's far more important at the moment. Usually we do interval, but I've changed it to gap to the leader. It's 1.8 between June and Blizzard. He just needs to stay within 3 seconds, and he will win this race. And Blizzard looks like he's going to make it 3 wins in a row in the most unpredictable of seasons. And I have to say, to win 3 races in a row in this season is quite a feat. I would be very surprised if we see that happen again over the course of the entire season. But June comes round the final corner. On the road, he's going to win the race, but that means nothing. June comes across the line first. Nowak comes across the line second. But as a result of penalties, it's VSR Blizzard who takes the victory here in Spain. Some people might complain about getting the penalties removed, we don't know, but officially at the moment we've got VSR Blizzard winning another tensely thought and closely thought race here today, and Blizzard just kept himself streetwise. He was the smartest of the bunch, nothing too dramatic, a really mature drive from VSR Blizzard. That's what we've got to say, isn't it, Alan Wonder?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see. He did have that incident with Kalik. That was pretty much the only time where, he had an incident with someone, but that could have been a racing incident. Good result for Toro Rosso today, 3 and 4. Yeah, McLaren going from strength to strength, because June was not able to finish ahead of Blizzard today. So even with only one driver, Blizzard winning the race and getting great points for McLaren. Fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. I'm sure the neutrals watching will be sighing a little bit that Blizzard's won again, but it has to be said, that is it's really brilliant. I can't describe it. I mean, how good that achievement is to win 3 races in a row, given how tight this field is. And as you said a few moments ago, he didn't have the outright pace here today, didn't he not, Blizzard? He didn't seem like the quickest of the group, and just by keeping his nose clean, well, we don't know about Kalik. Well, Kalik might have something different to say about that, we don't know, but he's the one on the top step of the podium for a 3rd win in a row, when really taking the championship by the scruff of the neck. June 2nd and Nowak 3rd. Finally a great result for Nowak. He'll be glad. He'll take a lot of positives from this today, because he could argue it was he or June that might have been the quickest guy out there today, Ali Wonder.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that completely, but it's not always about pace. If you don't get penalties, it gives you a great chance of getting a good result at the end.
Absolutely. Well, there is the full results from the Spanish Grand Prix. It was VSR Blizzard winning for McLaren, his 3rd win in a row from 7th on the grid. A fantastic performance. That undercut in the pit stop did the business. It was June in 2nd, the Spaniard. Well, a case of what might have been for him in the Alfa Romeo Sauber. Nowak 3rd, and Leon 4th, getting his first points of the season. A really, really strong showing from Toro Rosso Honda. Will they be able to carry that on for the rest of the season? They'll certainly hope so down there. Cliffy, well, he was on the tail of it. He had the pace all afternoon, but he was just a back He was just a backseat driver, wasn't he, at the back of the pack there in P6 or P5. He was in P6 at the back, and then eventually came P5 with penalties. Lambo P6, going in P7. Ashbest P8. That's me 9th, and Francis had a wretched afternoon, having started on pole in P10. But we should mention Lambo again, shouldn't we? Again, picking up solid points and keeping himself in the mix near the top of the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lambo will accept that he didn't really have the out-and-out pace to compete with the top 5. But yeah, still a good result for him. But he had 2 podiums to start the season off, but he's sort of dropping away from them. So be hoping Monaco he can survive it, because Monaco is going to be more about surviving more than pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Lambo, when things have gone crazy in the races, he's been the mature guy that's come through the field and picked up the results. So a track like Monaco, he will probably see that as an opportunity to try and pick up more points. And let's try and get the guys in then for interview. I'm going to try and get them in right now. Obviously we've got the Grand Prix in Mexico coming up soon, so it'll not take too long. We'll try and get them in. After who have I got on my friends list? Have I got them all? Have I not? Let's see. Have you got any of them on your friends list that you can suggest for me? VSR Blizzard. There we go. There's Blizzard. I can invite him. Jim. Let's see if I've got Jim. Have I got Jim? Have I got him? No, I don't have Jim. And who else was on the podium? It was Novak. Yeah, I think I've got Novak. Have I got Novak? No, I don't even have Novak. Goodness me. Well, I'll invite Blizzard, and then I'll try and get the other guys. But I think it could be to no avail. Novak's German, isn't he? And Novak, I think Jim's Spanish. I don't know if he actually is or it's just a flag. But Jim's never joined before, I don't think, for an interview, has he? So we'll wait and see. But I can try and get Novak in, see what we can do, and try and get Blizzard in as well. But yeah, again, a really tight race, another closely fought battle, and I think every race this season, Alimonda, is going to be just like that, isn't it? It's been brilliant.
Monaco, because that will really, the drivers will be earning their money on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Monaco Grand Prix will be a cracker, and of course you can join us for that next week, same time, 5:30. Yeah, I nearly forgot there. Yeah, don't forget the clocks went back today. So if you're not watching in the UK, it's the same time as whatever it was today for you guys. So yeah, be sure to join us for that one, the Monaco Grand Prix next week. And as you say, all about survival, isn't it? I mean, who are the guys that you would look at and say would be looking at to try and get the win? I mean, the way it's been going for the likes of Lecco and Lewis so far, if they can't survive any of the races done this far, I don't think they're going to survive in Monaco. So you've got to look at the likes of Blizzard again, who kept his nose clean, well, for the most part, this afternoon, and Lambo as well in particular, showing what he can do. He never seems to get involved in an incident, does he?
Yeah, I think Blizzard would say Monaco's a stronger track for him than Spain, so I'd certainly would consider him one of the favourites for that round.
Okay, well, I think that sums it up. I don't think we're going to get anyone along for an interview here.
I think Blizzard did come in here.
Oh, is it here? All right, that's good. There we go. Sorry, Blizzard, I didn't even realise that you joined us. Yeah, well done, Blizzard. Fantastic result. A really mature drive, it has to be said. Started 7th, maybe not the greatest qualifying lap, but you dug deep. We thought that maybe you didn't quite have the pace here in Spain to really match with the likes of Jim. Would you go along with that? But I mean, at the end of the day, you still got the result, didn't you? And what about the strategy? Do you think that was borderline with the medium tyres, or were they holding on no problem? That seemed like a really clever move to go in early on the pits and make jump all those positions that you did. Oh, really close. Really close. But I've got to say congratulations, because 3 wins in a row in this tier is at the moment, it looks like a really impressive feat given how tight it is. I mean, that's crazy. 6 cars all in a line fighting for the victory this afternoon. And if Killerzone was here, it probably would have been 7. It just shows you this is as tight as it gets in league racing. Have you ever been in a championship as tightly contested as this? And how do you feel ahead of Monaco? Is there anything? Do you feel quick round there? I mean, Ali Monda's telling me that he thinks you'll run quite well there. Do you feel good about that? You hate it. Well, there you go then. We'll see how it goes for you there. And what about your incident with Khaled? Can you describe what happened there? I mean, we're interested to know if you might be under investigation. We actually never really seen it. Well, I didn't see it on the stream, so none of the viewers seen it. But Ali Monda's seen it, and he said it was quite difficult to call. How did you read it? All right. So there was nothing in it. Maybe a desync or something like that. Do you think maybe caused it? Okay. There you go. There you go, Ali Monda. You get any questions for our race winner?
Yes. So good to start the season so far, Blizzard. Is this how you thought it would have gone from the beginning? Were you confident you're going to get results like this straight away, or are you surprised?
Okay. Well, I think that's it then. That wraps it up. Have you any more questions? No? Is that us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm done.
That's us then. Well, congratulations to VSR Blizzard, who secures his 3rd win in a row and cements his place at the top of the driver standings. As you now know, we go to the Monaco Grand Prix next week, and if it's as close, as tight as the opening few rounds of this championship has been, I'm sure it will be another thriller. It will be all about survival. Who will survive the tight streets of Monaco? Find out 5:30 next week. We'll be joined by myself and Ali Monda once again. So that's all from us. Good night.